I just had my first ever conversation in Wolof. It was with a friend's wife and her sister. I didn't get to make a video out of it because we didn't record it, but basically for the last 2 weeks, today is January 1st, 2025, by the way, and Happy New Year to everyone. So for the last 2 weeks or so, I've been studying Wolof and using my own method, of course. Got my notebook, got my question cards, trying to use ChatGPT, but ChatGPT doesn't know Wolof, I guess, which makes it totally tricky. And in this video, I'm not trying to go into the exact steps that I've taken. Perhaps in future videos, I can show like how has the Wolof journey gone. In this video, I want to talk about the epiphany that I had when I was in that WhatsApp video conversation, trying to have a conversation in Wolof. The epiphany that I had is that pretty much everything that I've talked about ever so far on this channel, or conversations that I've had with people and about language learning, it's all been in the strategy category. Structure, conversation, muscle memory, personality, that's all true, but it's strategy. It's one thing to talk about it and another thing to do it, right? In language learning, there are many situations where there's two sides of the same coin: conversation and structure, verbs and vocabulary. The coin that I'm talking about here is one side is strategy, the other is tactical, right? Strategy is method, theory, practice. Tactical is how do you survive a conversation? And I don't mean a conversation with yourself or even a simulated kind of practice sparring with a teacher who knows what's going on, but a person that is just not there to help you. Like they're just there to, a real person. I'm thinking the slogan for tactical is, this is language learning for people who want to talk to people. And in 2025, inshallah, I'm going to double down on this idea that of the three legs of the stool, of the three ingredients of language learning, which are having something to say, knowing how to say it, and having someone to say it to, having someone to say it to is probably the hardest part, and it's probably the most important part, right? Having something to say is very important. That way you don't get led astray by memorizing words that you don't need. Knowing how to say it involves being able to extract the patterns of the language and use the grammar of the language as a creative tool. Having someone to say it to, that's purely tactical. It's what do you do in that moment, all right? So I'll give you a quick insight on how I was able to have this conversation at all. Obviously, my Wolof is not very advanced. It's not like any language I've ever seen before. Frankly, it's kind of tricky. And ChatGPT doesn't know it, so I haven't been able to play like up to my usual tricks with ChatGPT, you know what I mean? So what I did is, before the conversation started, I wrote this list of everything that I thought that I could basically say in Wolof, and everything that I thought could be relevant to the conversation. So, Salam alaikum, Nangadef, Yangi Sijam, Nakawakirigi, Nakafit, and so on and so forth, right? Just whatever. How are you? How you doing? How's it going? I would like to go to Senegal. I hear it's nice. I'm practicing my Wolof, and everything that I thought I would like to say. Now, I've got this here beside me, which is kind of like cheating, right? But hey, what are you going to do? Like, I got to do everything I can at this point, So the conversation starts, and I start to do my thing. And here's the biggest takeaway, and this is the last thing, and we'll wrap it up. The more questions you ask, like me, the more questions I can ask, the greater the advantage I have. So I know that if I get asked a question in Wolof, I might be able to get it, but even if I do get it, it's not like I probably have a great answer for it right now, because I know I'm very limited to just a few things that I know how to say. So I try to keep the ball in my court, or maybe we should say keep the ball in their court, which is I ask you a question, I ask you a question. So here's my challenge to you, for anyone who wants to talk to people, right? Language learning for people who want to talk to people. If you want to talk to people in the language that you're learning, I would say write up 10 questions. Find someone who's willing to answer those 10 questions. If they want to record it, even better, because just for yourself, because then you can go back and you can study their answers. You be the interviewer. Often when we talk about the OPI method, the oral proficiency interview method, the military speaking test, where you have to answer questions, that's the gold standard. Like that's the highest benchmark of how well you know a language is how well you can answer questions. Why? Because answering questions is harder than asking questions. Answering questions, you have to understand the question and then think of an answer at the same time and be able to say it. All right. So that's as good as it gets. But if you want to fade into that, like gradually come up to that, practice asking questions, right? Because then you can control the flow of conversation. So there's a little bit of the strategy of the tactical, but the main point here is two sides of the same coin: strategy and tactical. We talk a lot about strategy here, and I love strategy. But in 2025, we're going to start talking about not talking about. We're going to start demonstrating the tactical side of the coin.